Hello and welcome back to the channel, and thank you so much for joining me on another of my interviews. We've been talking about a lot of grassroots things on the show, on the interview, and how in order to get out of some of the problems that we've had over the last few days in which we've had top-down governments dictating things, grassroots is where you've got people on the ground rebuilding communities. Now, one such organisation, I suppose, is the Bournemouth Community Assembly and related groups. And I'm very pleased to bring to you three interesting people who are doing just that. Let's find out what they're up to. We've got Steve, Pat and Wendy. So first of all, if I go to our little screen here, we have Steve, I guess, on the right and Wendy on the left. Hello to you.
Hello.
Hello, Richard.
And Pat, if Pat says hello, hello to you.
Hello.
There we go. Brilliant. Thank you so much for joining me. It's interesting to find out more about grassroots organisations and particularly rebuilding the community, because we've had these issues over the years, as you know, and we seem to have been atomised. There's a lot of this sort of people against each other and divide and rule, and the sort of the assemblies, as I understand it, is bringing those communities back together, working together, being cohesive and keeping an eye out for one another. Is that a fair representation, Pat?
Yes, I would say so. Yeah.
Excellent. So, Steve, could you tell us a little bit about the Bournemouth Community Assembly and how it came about and what your aims are?
Yeah, of course. So Bournemouth Community Assembly was started in 2019. It was actually created by a lady called Gina, a man called Wayne, and another lady called Poppy. They're still within the Bournemouth Community Assembly. They're just within different groups now, doing some more grassroots situations. But the Bournemouth Community Assembly basically came together for that reason, to bring the community back to everyone. So like you were saying, like the grassroots side of things, we're just trying to empower people, basically, bring them back to the way that the world should be, in a way, not having to rely on big government, big tech, all the big shopping markets and so forth.
So taking back responsibility for yourselves, as opposed to always letting the council do it or looking to the government to sort things out for you. What sort of things do you do?
So within the Bournemouth Community Assembly, we've got a number of different projects going on. Obviously, we've got the PHA, which Pat and Wendy will be talking about in a bit.
And the PHA, just for those that don't know what that means?
That's the People's Health Alliance.
Right. And I interviewed Catherine McBean not so long ago, talking a lot about that.
Yeah. And then we've got postcode pods as well. So this one's working really well, actually, the postcode pods. So that's basically everyone within a certain mile radius of their postcode. And what they're doing is they're meeting up on a regular basis and going to each other's gardens, mapping out the garden, and then starting to grow veg within their garden. And then they're able to distribute it out to their community as well. They've been going really well. But within those pods as well, there's a number of people, like, for example, like healthcare. They've got ambulance crew, I believe. They've got radios. They've got absolutely anything and everything to help within their community, just in case anything, or whatever situation does happen, they'll be able to help that individual community themselves. But they're dotted all around Bournemouth and all around Dorset, really. Ringwood, Bournemouth, Southbourne, everywhere around.
And how's it going down with the normal population? Are people aware of what you're doing and the work that you're doing and all of that? Are people getting on board? Are they enthusiastic? Or are some people sort of thinking, what the hell is this about?
Well, it's a mixed bag of both, really.
Okay.
That's the way of the world at the moment, isn't it? At the moment, we've got a large number of people within the Bournemouth Community Assembly. Yes, I think we've got about 500 contacts. But we normally have a monthly meeting where around about 100 to 130 people would turn up. It's on a Saturday, so it's a bit difficult for some people to come to. But we're finding a right mixed bag, but a lot more people are waking up to the situation of what's going on within the areas, really. And the more and more people wake up, at least they've got somewhere to come to, which is already established, and groups within that established umbrella.
So when you say people waking up, I mean, there's so much to wake up to. You don't really need to be aware of all the intricacies of what's going on at the moment. You might just be interested, say, in food or in your health, and then as you meet other people, you'll be exchanging ideas and views about what's happening in the world, and perhaps people are continually waking up to new things that are going on, I imagine.
Exactly that, yeah. So what we find is people will come to the meeting, and then within that meeting, they'll meet others who are doing certain things within their community. And then it's up to them which other project they would like to jump on board, or even start their own project, wherever they feel is necessary for them, their family, and for the people that surround them, really.
So, Wendy, you're involved with the People's Health Alliance, is that right? Have I got that correct?
I am. I've got a foot in both camps, really. So I'm a foot in the BCA and a foot in the BHA, and also in the Ringwood Community Assembly, which was pre-Bournemouth Community Assembly. So 3 feet, if you like.
So I was going to say that's a lot of feet. So tell us about the Public Health Alliance. How does that work in your area?
Well, we've got several public health alliances, People's Health Alliances. We've got a New Forest one and the Bournemouth one, the Dorset one as well. In fact, Pat knows more about this than me. I can tell you about the local things that we've been setting up and what we intend to do in the future. Do you want the history or do you want the future plans?
Well, you tell me what you can talk about, and then I'll go to Pat and find out what her perspective is.
Okay, so from my point of view, I'm more interested in social aspects of bringing people together. So I organise events, and it's very underrated actually, because that's where community gels. It's where trust is formed, and when you've got trust between people, then you work together a lot better. So events such as music events, festivals. We've got a festival coming up in July, 1st and 2nd July. Sounds beautiful. Where we camp overnight and we sit around fires, and lots of interesting conversations and ideas get shared there. And that's how we move forward. Things don't have to always come out of business meetings. They can happen organically.
Oh, I totally agree, yeah. And presumably the public come to those, and so then they start to learn about things through that.
It's inclusive. The PHA, one of the big things with the PHA is it's absolutely inclusive. It is for anybody. It's supposed to be a healthcare for people who want access to alternative and holistic treatment, but it doesn't exclude allopathic treatment. So it is for everybody, and we don't exclude anyone regardless of their medical choices or how they choose, to live their lives. And I think the other foot that I've got in the PHA is with mental health. Unfortunately, we lost a member last year, a dear member of our community, and it woke us up to the fact that people have been incredibly isolated over the last 3 years, and that we needed to have something that, really supported everyone. So we've got an initiative called a hotline where we're trying to get up and running at the moment, where anyone can phone in. It's a bit like the Samaritans, but under the BCA umbrella. And but it's not just for mental health. It's a place where people can phone and they get signposted to other organisations. So for information, they might need mental health help. We might have to signpost them to a counsellor, for example. But it's getting this infrastructure in so that it really, we've got the postcode pods, as Steve was saying, where you've got physical kind of communities that live very near together, but you've also got communications networks between them. So,
and do you think there's a lot of people who are still isolated at the moment?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And is that as a result of the lockdowns, that they're still fearful from that, or is it just the fact of life? A lot of people do sort of, the way that society has gone over the last 20-25 years, in which people do seem to have lost their community and lost family members because people have moved out or moved away or what have you.
Yeah, I think it's personal opinion, but I was involved very much in Steiner movement, with the anthroposophical movement, and it's very much based around the idea that we use technology for a certain reason, to aid us to be more sociable beings. And I think in society that has taken a divergence, and we're now using technology to control and divide rather than unite people. And this is particularly what Steiner would say is happening. So that's what I see at the moment.
And would you say that's malicious?
I think it could be. Yes, it could be. And I
Okay,
think
so
what we need to
Pat,
do
we
now-
haven't heard from you much, Pat. So you're more involved in the People's Health Alliance. Must get my terms right here. So are you more involved in the history of this and the setting up of it?
No, I wasn't involved in the setting up of the original PHA, but just involved in the local Dorset PHA, which was set up and which I helped run. And we're working towards, we have loads of plans that we're working towards. And ideally, we would like some premises to be able to carry them out. We've already run first aid courses, mental health first aid course, homeopathic courses. We've also raised some funds, but nowhere near enough to get our own premises. And we've also got a lot of plans for the future. For instance, the PHA mental health group has created a course that can be run in the local hubs for people to understand mental health better and to be able to help people with mental health, because at the moment it's really stigmatized and people don't want to know. So it's for people to learn. I'm also in touch with the homeopathic group within the PHA, where we're devising a 2-day course to help people understand how they can use homeopathy and also use old ideas that probably our grandparents know and we've lost. I mean, most children nowadays don't even know how to cook, but they certainly don't know about old remedies or anything like that.
Yes, the old dock leaves and the stinging nettles type thing.
So we'd like a place where we could have a community a space where people could come, get help, therapists can practice there, they can be given information, books, we can have talks, lectures, workshops. We've got loads of therapists within the area all wanting to give, but we haven't got anywhere to actually give that gift to people.
Right, so it's a centralised place. Is that the biggest obstacle that you have?
Yes, I think accommodation, a place where we can meet up, where people can drop into. As Wendy said, you know, the person that we lost from our community, you know, had there been somewhere that he could have gone, somewhere that he could have talked to someone, maybe there would have been a different outcome. And I think that's that for many people. So yeah, a central place is what we really need. So if there's one amazing funding person out there with some accommodation that's on offer, that would be amazing, because we've got so much to go forward with, so many plans, so many people and so many skills.
And is the local council supportive of what you're doing?
I don't think they're just not interested, really.
Not at all.
No.
No, but on that note, we've got independent councillors applying. I just applied myself. One of the things that we do as an assembly is try and get people with more open-minded vision onto the councils that are not caught in this political kind of war between themselves, you know, which stops moving forward because they get caught up in their agendas. So that's one of the things the BCA is doing, is trying to get councillors, and we've got one on in Ringwood, which was great.
Yeah.
So how receptive, I mean, you say you're getting people into the council, how receptive then is the council to these new ideas, and how much influence can the new councillors have?
I can only speak from Ringwood Council. I have to be careful what I say because they're my friends. I think they are, I mean, particularly in Ringwood, they're very open to the idea of growing. They're very green orientated, so they're really happy to provide growing spaces, to provide green areas. But I think the dilemma comes when this monitoring, and again back to technology, when they start introducing technology, does the council accede to all these demands that are being made, you know, to tax us, to fine us, in the sake of green policies? You know, we need to really be looking at ways that empower people. Not that we don't want to look after the planet, it's just we need to do it in a way that gives us freedom and doesn't take our rights away.
So the council, you don't think would be in a position to have some building somewhere that they could provide on a peppercorn rent?
I mean, that's something what we will be looking into. Again, we've only just got a few people. Well, we've got one person from BCA into one selected council. So that's a new thing that we're doing at the moment.
Right.
So it's a case of just testing the waters, really.
Yeah.
Seeing how we can get on, seeing what we need to do and how we need to do it, to then copy and paste within the other counties.
And presumably there are other community assemblies up and down the country. Do you share knowledge and information with them, tactics and advice, theories and all of that, so that if somebody's come up with something that just works or a piece of legislation, they can point and say, actually, you know, you should be giving us this, we qualify for this, or whatever it is?
Yeah, I mean, there's a number of groups. Obviously, there's a lot of BCAs around, but we kind of talk to our local BCAs and deal with them and do share information within them. In fact, when a Bournemouth Community Assembly is on, we get a large number of the people from the surrounding areas coming over to the Bournemouth one. So then we can see them, so just a general catch up with them, make sure what they're doing is working, making sure what we're doing is working. So yeah, in a way, that's exactly what we're doing.
And there's also a national network as well of community assemblies.
Well, I suppose that's what I was trying to get to. If there's a national network with these assemblies all over, there must be a shared knowledge base as you're looking at other networks or other assemblies and thinking, actually, they've managed to achieve this. How did you do it? What did you do?
Yeah, so with the national one, there was a few things. The original people were set up, the Bournemouth Community Assembly kind of disagreed with. And the way that we're looking at it is like our own area. You've got to help yourself before you can help others, in a way. But if we're getting other people from other areas to come in and to take certain control within the BCA, then we're a bit reluctant to do that at the moment. Sure.
I'm just thinking in terms of ideas. You know, if you see somebody and they've suddenly got these brand new spanking premises that they can put over there, the People's Health Alliance, and it's on, and you think, wow, what did you do to do that? And he said, oh, we just applied for this grant or that grant and it happened. Then obviously it would be useful if you guys could do the same. I'm just thinking in terms of, if there's lots of grassroots organisations, people do know certain things, don't they? And sharing that knowledge is obviously a good idea. But you don't want them coming in saying, but this is how we must do it, when it's they're not in your area. And I could totally get that.
Yeah. And the thing is, with regards to the information is being shared so much, it's unreal. And there's so much information out there that it's just basically sieving through that information to find what's going to work within your area. But yeah, I'd definitely take it on board with regards to what you're saying with regards to the big buildings and everything else like that. That would be amazing. If someone does know about that, then yeah, happily we'll look into it. That's perfect for us.
I mean, I know it's all hard work. I mean, I get emails just running a YouTube channel, and they're trying to sort of answer all the questions that people ask me, and I'm not an expert in anything, and yet people sort of assume that you've got the answers, and I can tell you very often you don't. So it's interesting talking to people, you know, you're on the ground doing all of this, and no doubt, again, people assume that you've got all the answers, and you're on the ground running.
Yeah, but again, like yourself, we're not experts.
No, that's it. But that makes it quite interesting for everybody, because, you know, if you're enthusiastic, you're learning, aren't you?
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. We're basically relearning our lives from 3-4 years ago. I mean, the amount of information that we know now than what we hadn't known before is incredible, and it's looking like a bright future, really, with all that information coming to hand. I mean, who knew about being sovereign? Who knew about? I didn't know about growing veg back then, but now I'm learning how to grow veg. I've got an allotment, so we're and also going back to the basics of meeting your community, meeting your neighbours for starters.
Yes.
Like back about 4 or 5 years ago, I wasn't really neighboury. I was just a standard bloke, just getting on with my own life. But then all of a sudden, when everything came to head, all of a sudden you start to realise, actually, I do need to speak to Day across the hall, see how she's getting on, how is Dave downstairs getting on. And then within that, all of a sudden, your morale is being picked up, their morale is being picked up. And then all of a sudden, you're finding things that can help them and they're able to help you. And that side of it's really good. I really enjoy that.
Now, in your original email to me, you've also noted that you do things like monitoring 5G towers, dealing with the water board. What sort of things are you implying? Well, let's go to 5G towers. Are they going down, and what's the worry in your area? Who wants to pick that one up?
Okay, well, I took on 5G a while back when I first started within the BCA, because I noticed a lot of these towers going up. But so far, what we've managed, basically what we're doing is we're monitoring what EMF is coming out of the towers, and we're keeping a tally of it, making sure that it's within the guidelines, which we all know it isn't. It's going off the radar with the EMF that's being spouted out. So again, within the pods, we're asking people to go out with the monitors and keeping a regular check to see how that EMF is being pumped out. We've got a lady called Mary who's taken it on board, because I've stepped back a little bit from that to take over from the BCA. And Mary's out there with someone called Jim, who are mapping out where the towers are and keeping a tally of what's exactly going on with the EMF.
And do you take that to the councils and say, hang on a minute, look, this is too high?
It's all about building up a case.
Right,
so
okay.
The more information you can get, the better it is. Because otherwise you go to the council and you say, well, this is what we're finding. And they're saying, well, that's all within the guidelines. But those guidelines change, as we all know. One thing that is good, though, is within the community, we're keeping an eye on where towers are going up. And we've got a local guy who's really on top of that, lets everyone know where the next tower is going to be up. Excuse me. And then we all jump on board and oppose those plans. And the last time we spoke, he's saying that 9 out of 10 masks are being objected to. So that side of it's really good.
Right.
But the problem what we've got is the ones that are up. Obviously, the problem of having them up, the new ones going up, but also the ones that are up at the moment. Like I say, they're just pumping out loads of EMF. So we're all just basically getting microwaved in a way. And Bournemouth is full of it.
And so, I mean, where I am, I'm in Worthing in Sussex. As far as I know, we've only got one in Goring, which is nearby. So in Bournemouth area, you've got lots of these 5Gs operational, have you?
Yeah. Well, I mean, the 4G towers still operate the same as the 5G. So those big cotton bud looking ones actually pump out the same amount of EMF as the 5G towers. So, I mean, basically the inside of those cotton bud ones you can convert them to 5G really easily. You just take the top off and then just change a couple of the dishes, and then that's 5G done.
I went out into Ringwood a few weeks ago and got a reading twice the safety limit on a 4G tower, and that wasn't even 5G. And
it was beyond the safety limit?
Yeah.
Did you say? Yeah.
Twice as much.
Twice. And so, I mean, if I don't know. I mean, I'm asking the question, so some of the questions are a bit naive, I suppose. But if you're going back to the council to say effectively, look, we are monitoring you, we are aware of this, and presumably there are some rights to saying if this is beyond the guidelines, then you've got to do something about it, isn't there? I mean, are you putting pressure on the council? Have they asked you if these things can go up, if they can change? Have they had public consultations, and are people rallying around saying, actually, we don't want this and we pay your wages, so don't do it?
Well, we have done that in the past, but now the council are just saying that that's down to the telecommunications company. So we're finding...
But it must be, surely it must have something to do with the council, because otherwise any company can just come and plonk anything they like. I mean, it's down, the Planning Act must give them permission, surely.
Yeah, well, what we're finding is that a lot of towers are going onto the planning, but there are some that will literally be put up and then it will go on planning.
Right.
It's corrupt, basically.
Yes.
Oh,
Well,
well, that's what we're
I know we all know it's corrupt,
Yeah.
but we've got to sort of bash these people over the head and say, look, actually, it's the people that are in charge who are not putting up with it.
Well, this is why I'm saying that the more information that we gather, the better it is. So, for example,
Yes.
we can go out and monitor those systems, but at the same time, you need to talk to the people around that area as well, see if they're fallen of ill health, see, especially at the times when they had gone up.
And have you found that?
Well, that's the next stage.
Right. Oh,
So at the
okay. So
moment
sort of early stage in all of this.
Exactly that, yeah. Well, at the moment we're monitoring them, and then we're going to find out where the most EMF are being put out, and then within that area we can then go and door canvas, see how they are, see what's happened, and get as much information from them. Because then again, that's just something to add to the tally of going to the council and saying, look, this is what's happening.
Yeah.
EMF is X, Y, and Z. You've got people that have been fallen ill since these times have been coming up. So what is it that you're going to be able to do about the situation? At the moment, they're just pinning the blame on it's like a game of tennis.
Yes.
So they'll say, well, that's down to the telecommunications company, and then you go to the telecommunications company, and they're saying, well, that's within the guidelines.
Yes, but I mean, the council, the buck must stop with the council. They can't just, they can't just say, oh, well, that's the telecommunications company, because the council are the telecommunications company are supposedly reporting back to the council.
But don't forget, the council are either making money or funding for this project as well.
Oh, I know, absolutely, and they're corrupt as anything. But what I'm saying is, unless the people gather and say, look, we're not having this, you can make as many excuses as you damn well like, but we're just not having it. I'm sorry, if everybody in your area doesn't want it, why have you got it?
This is why having independent councillors is really good, because if you've got councillors that have got an agenda on the council, they're going to be obviously monetary, have monetary incentives for everything.
Yes.
If you've got people on the council that are looking after the community first, then you've got more likelihood of actually bending their ear and being sympathetic towards things that are happening to the general population.
Well, you just got to get these rogue people out. Just stem that. I know it's easy for me to say, and I'm sure it's very, very difficult. So what's going on with the water down there?
Okay, so we collected a load of water samples, and the individual who collected those, Nigel, took them off to the water board and did a test in front of the CEO of the water board. But the response was, well, that's within the guidelines. Again, that's all they seem to say is it's within the guidelines. But
have they printed the guidelines that you can go, here's the guidelines and here's our things, and they don't match?
Well, this is it. So again, the test results were pretty shocking, especially in the Bournemouth town centre side of things. That was really bad, apparently. But again, it's all backhands money, isn't it? But it's just a step forward.
Right.
So again, they've taken the samples over to the CEO. We've put them in front of the CEO. We've tested them in front of him as well. We've got his reaction from it, and now the next step would be to move forward onto another avenue of pushing harder,
right,
to get a response of what we need. So
we hadn't heard. We hadn't heard from Pat for a while. You're still there, Pat?
Yes, I'm still here.
Have you got anything to add on these issues?
No, I mean, I mostly concentrate on the health side, although, like Wendy, I have got 3 feet, the Bournemouth Community Assembly, South Bournemouth Community Assembly, and the PHA.
Right. And
I think you can only sort of concentrate on so much, so I've always concentrated on the health side because that's been my history.
So, I mean, I know you're trying to sort of rebuild the communities and stuff, but how agitated are you as a community against these woes or these nefarious things that are being pushed upon you?
Well, I think we're all trying to learn to stand up and say no,
Right.
which is something that people haven't done in the past. And certainly with health issues, when you have a health issue and you go to a doctor, it seems that the standard answer is you need to take some pharmaceuticals as far as the doctor's concerned.
Right.
So I think what I'm trying to do is to say to people that there are other options and to stand back and look at the other options and make a personal choice. Because,
and
otherwise you're just told what to do and given some pills.
yes, and we've all grown up with that sort of idea that the health service is there to help us, and that may not necessarily be the case, and that alternatives are a bit quirky and a bit old-fashioned. It's the sort of...
But not just that. I mean, when I was a child, we had something called a family doctor, which meant that the doctor knew about the family. So if something cropped up, they had a sort of bigger picture of what was going on within the family, like, whether they had bereavement or they got a disabled family member or whatever.
Yeah.
So when they looked at what they could do about whatever the person came along with, they'd got a much bigger picture, but doctors don't anymore.
No.
If you've got a spot, all they look at is the spot. They're not interested in other things that are going in your life, the fact that you've been homeless or you've lost your job or whatever. We need to go back to the time when we're not just a physical spot. We're physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual. And we need to look at the whole person when we're looking at whatever's wrong with them.
So if you gather momentum with the concept that, just as you said, we need to look for other things, would market forces not help that? If people were saying, do you know what, I don't like this service is crap, it's rubbish, they just give us a pill, it's got a whole load of side effects, and one of those side effects seems to be death. Oh, I don't think I'll have that. Whereas if people are going, well, what is the alternative? Instead of going to the GP, who I've never met before, I'm only going to meet him once, and the next time it'll be somebody else, and you've only got 10 minutes in front of them if you're lucky, and you've got to talk to them behind a glass screen and all that crap that comes with it. If people know that there's another alternative, if they know that there's, as you said, you haven't got a building, but presumably these practitioners, they've got surgeries in their own home, have they? So that they can, or a phone line or a centre that they can say, look, I've got this problem with my elbow.
Yeah.
Every time I bend it, it hurts. And so that they can say, yeah, no, what you want is this person, the chiro practitioner.
Yes, well, that's the whole point of the health hubs. I mean, I ran a multidisciplinary clinic with
Right.
about 17 therapists for 20 years, but I retired. But it's almost like that needs recreating. And there are places like that around. There's also many brilliant therapists who work on their own. It's almost like there aren't enough of them. But I think with the PHA, what I'd like to reintroduce is a place where people can come out and find out about these things. Because
Yes.
they don't necessarily know to ring up and book an appointment and pay a sum of money. But they can come along and find out about what is on offer, what are the options.
So
We can have some books there, we can have talks, workshops, all sorts of things.
So is it publicity and marketing that you're sort of lacking, so that people know that this is happening?
Well, yeah, and we could probably create our own publicity if we had somewhere to create it and somewhere that people could come along to, that
Right.
they could literally drop in and say, give me some more information about this therapy, or what does that do, or who else can I go to, and what are my options?
Yeah.
It's
I mean,
somewhere where people can find their options.
I'm just thinking, if you go back to the old days, and I know it's always, a bit rosy tinted glasses going back to the old days, but in the old days you didn't have these health centres. You had the doctor, and you'd go round to his house, and in his front room he had a bit of a surgery, but there might be 2 or 3 doctors, and I know it was expensive because it was all sort of private back in those days, although they did do some help for the poor and what have you. But do you need to have a centre? I mean, is that just we're all kind of stuck with this idea that you have to have a so-called health centre? Can not these individual practitioners not advertise on a central web page or something like that and promote that, so that people then know, oh yeah, if I need this, I need to go to this place and he's got a surgery, and it might be an upstairs room in his attic or a spare back room or something like that. Does that not happen?
There's probably not enough therapists around that are fully trained to offer that. They've
Right.
probably got enough clients that they can just go along and practice and not need to advertise almost.
Right.
But also, I think people who don't know anything about it just want somewhere where they can go and talk initially and find out what is on offer.
Sorry, Wendy, were you going to say something?
I was just going to say that what we do have initially is a PHA directory, and there's also a national PHA directory with a list. I mean, that's how organised we've got so far, with a list of practitioners throughout the country.
Right.
Actually look them up. You can Google it and find a practitioner near you that's aligned with the PHA. But we need more. There's only a certain amount. What we're trying to do at the moment is encourage every practitioner that might have an interest to sign up to the directory, so that we've got more choice in our area.
And I'm guessing that, I'm making out that it's quite easy to do all this. And I guess, the thing is, if you're down there in grassroots, it takes a lot of time to get the snowball coming down the mountain, and that things to start getting going and people to be interested and think that it's a worthwhile project and all of that, with the same passion that you guys have got.
Yeah, that's the main thing, is actually getting people to do it. There's a lot of people out there who will talk about the situation, but it's all right talking about it, but it's doing it. What I'd say is that if you have any skills, or if you just want to come and meet us, I can give you our email address. Just drop us an email. We can send out the information of where the next meeting is, and then you can come down, shake our hands, come and talk to us. And then if you want to get involved with some of the groups, happy days. If not, at least you've got somewhere to come, so you can meet some like-minded people and just have a general conversation, and just get yourselves on that path, really. Because you'll find that some people come within the groups and they'll get involved with certain things, and you'll find some people come in and they go, actually, we're missing this. And then they'll actually crack on and do it. And it's those sort of people we desperately need. It's the ones who just want to crack on and actually do something about the situation, instead of just sitting back and just letting other people deal with it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I can see that. I mean, it's obviously an uphill struggle at first, but once it's going and your community, the wider community, starts to realise actually this is a thing, when people are more happy and treated more wholesome in a holistic way, rather than like with going to a doctor for 5 minutes and waiting and you can't get an appointment, but you can this way, and they'll look after you and talk to you and make you feel a human again, then people are going to come in their droves. And and I guess, the last thing you need at this stage is everyone coming all at once, because you're not ready for them as well. So it's a sort of double-edged sword situation to build it up slowly, so that you've got the infrastructure and the people all ready to deal with it all.
I mean, it is what it is. I mean, if people just came in their droves, then we'll deal with that situation when it arises.
Yes.
I mean, don't forget, we have got a large number of people who do come, and if more come, then it is what it is. We can deal with that situation. But like I said, we do need some more people who would like to do some more groundwork, really.
Yeah. Well, it's a brilliant thing that you guys are doing, and the other assemblies across the country. I think this is the future for us. The system is broken. I think we discovered that in the pandemic 3 years ago. We discovered how the top-down instructional, this is what you must do, one-size-fits-all system is absolutely broken. It's dehumanized, and it's left a lot of people with traumas and problems. And what you guys are doing is absolutely the way forward. It's a sort of a step backwards to some of the old ways, but using modern technology and knowledge that we've got, and making communities a community again. So more power to you. Thank you so much for talking to me today.
That's okay. Like I said, if anyone wants to get in contact with us, please do so. I just want to say thank you as well to all the people who are doing the stuff in the background as well. So I mean, you've got Lee and Adi who are dealing with the pod side of things. If you want to get involved within your own local postcode area group, again, email us in. We can put you in contact with those guys. If you want to get involved with the 5G monitoring, again, let us know. Growing food, anything you want to get involved within this area, just don't hesitate, get in contact with us and we'll point you in the right direction for it.
And also with the PHA, Sarah Jane, who couldn't be here today, but she's done a lot of work for the PHA, and she should be mentioned. She's one of good contact.
Fantastic. Well, I'm sure that there are other people watching who are either embryonically setting up a group or a system like yours, or an assembly, or there's others that have been going a little bit longer. And it's all good sharing that information and getting encouraged to do exactly what you want all around the country, so that we can find a better way to do it. So thank you so much for talking to me. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
So big thanks to Steve and Wendy there, and Pat. Cheerio to you. Cheerio, Pat.
See you soon.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you so much. There you go. Do check out the Bournemouth Community Assembly. I'll put some links in the description. I'll get Steve to send them over to me, if that's all right, Steve. And then you can get in touch and all of that. And I shall be back with more interviews and more shenanigans on my channel. But in the meantime, to everybody here, thanks for watching and goodbye.